We live in the most divided age in history. The number of people who have few friends to call on, let alone someone who they can call their best friend, is rapidly decreasing. And in this video, I want to talk a little about why I think that is. First, before we get into it, hello, if you're new here, my name is Cooper, and I'm a recent college graduate documenting my journey as well as giving advice to you all here on this YouTube channel. So if that is something you are interested in, feel free to stick around. All right, let's hop into it. So the first reason that I think people are having more of a hard time finding friends is that we no longer share an environment. Now, what do I mean by that? What does it mean to have a shared environment? Well, a couple weeks ago, I put out a video where I talked about the death of pop culture. And the main focus of that video was talking about how we have devolved, we have moved away from an age where we all shared a likeness and interest in similar things. You know, even just a decade ago, 2 decades ago especially, before the internet, before the age of social media and the iPhone, we lived in a culture that was extremely interconnected to the point where there's a high likelihood that even, your neighbor would have many things in common. You would like the same music, you would like the same films, and it became extremely easy to relate to somebody. You know, if you walked onto an elevator, the chances are that you could ask them about, the movie The Titanic, or like the most recent episode of whatever show that came out that weekend. You could bring that up in conversation and you would both be able to relate to that. Nowadays, with social media and the amount of digital content that there is, the separation, the cavern and the canyon that now divides us from our neighbor is vast. And it's created a situation where we all feel like we live on an island, segmented, isolated, remote from everybody else. And an interesting fact that I found is that the U.S. Surgeon General reported that loneliness associated with these segmented, remote feelings is just as harmful as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And so there's no question that the loneliness epidemic that we find ourselves surrounded by is doing vast amounts of harm to us. And so moving on to my reason number 2 why I think loneliness is spreading and why people are finding it harder to find friends is that people are terrified of rejection. We are hyper aware of our internal self, and we lack self-confidence. And again, I think this comes back from the rise in social media. I think a lot of us can relate to this. I know I can relate to this with my time in high school. I started using Instagram when I was in 7th grade, and my very first purpose, my primary purpose and desire in getting it was to grow a following, as does everybody else. And what it has very quickly turned into is a forum in order to collect a currency based on likes, followers, comments, a currency based on attention. And what does this ultimately do? It places us in an internal spotlight of where we constantly overanalyze and are aware of ourselves and judge ourselves because we think that we are being watched and judged everybody else. We constantly have our own internal spotlight because we think that the spotlight shined by everybody else is directed towards us. We fear, of being too much, of being too weird or too available, right? We're constantly so self-critical of ourselves because of this spotlight we shine on ourselves. And going along with that, when you embark trying to spark a friendship, trying to seek connection with somebody else, it requires a certain level of vulnerability. You know, in order to be friends with someone, by definition, you share certain things with each other, whether that be interests, hobbies, you name it. There's a certain level of commonality, but the only way you find out those things is by being vulnerable, by opening up, by sharing those things. But as I said, people are so terrified of rejection that we don't even try to share. We close ourselves off from the world. And so moving on to reason number 3 is that because of this, all these reasons are compounding because of the fact that we don't share environments anymore. The fact that we are so individualized causes us to fear rejection. In turn, causes our social skills to have atrophied, to have decayed away. The years spent on screens, the years avoiding face-to-face communication and connection has led to the most human skill imaginable, the art of speaking, of language, of verbal communication and connection has devolved and decayed away rapidly to a point where people no longer have the ability to hold a conversation without distraction. You know, in the first second of pause, we perceive as awkwardness, and there goes the urge to grab the cell phone. You see this when you go out. If you're someone who goes out to numerous restaurants, you may see this when you see couples or even families who are out on a date or on a nice family dinner. And the amount of people you see nowadays with the phones on the table within arm's reach, and as soon as the conversation dies, they pick it up because they always have to be satiated. We have lost the ability to sit in silence, to be in a state that is not filled with stimulation or distraction. And because of that, those things come natural in conversation, and thus we shy away from conversation because it is now deemed awkward. And so, in avoidance of those awkward moments, we now prioritize reason number 4, which is comfort over community. Comfort is now the new deity, right? We all would prefer to stay at home, order DoorDash, binge Netflix, work remotely, have everything delivered to us. If we wanted to, we would live in a world where we had to talk to no one, had to interact with nobody, have everything done and delivered for us. And so in this world, friendships are inconvenient, and so it's no surprise that they are on the decline, right? Friendships require time, they require effort, they require emotional energy, but most people are so socially tired and overwhelmed and overstimulated because their life is so mentally draining, yet so relationally empty. And so I think the hard truth, the hard lesson to learn is that comfort kills community and kills connection. And so the last reason number 5, is that we don't see friendship as a skill anymore. Most people think that friends and friendship just happens. But that lie is built on our past experience. Most of our friendships came from school, right? And those arose because we were placed in an environment that we shared with a class of 20 to 30 students. And so we were forced to interact. Nowadays, when you're out of the school system and it's your choice to interact, we choose not to. Because friendship is built on initiation. It's built on repetition. It's built on vulnerability. It's built on reliability. But again, we prioritize comfort over those things. And so if you don't practice it, you won't have it. And so closing out this video, like how do we fix this problem? It's fixed by, being the first one to approach, being the one who is the first to text, to invite, to ask. Everyone is waiting for someone else to make the first move. And so be the person to make the first move. Be bold enough to be different. Because in this day and age, in this age of loneliness, you may feel like you'll be awkward, that you'll be shunned, but in actuality, that other person is seeking the same thing and will be glad that you took initiative and that you asked. And so pick an environment, show up, lower your expectations, stop being so self-critical, give more than what you want to receive, and stop curating yourself. The more real you are, the more people will gravitate towards you. Authenticity is rare, and that's what I'm aiming in this YouTube channel. My videos have quickly steered into a very raw, authentic format, is because I think that's what we desire and what we need. So be yourself. Don't be afraid to be yourself, and be yourself boldly. And so, with that, that's all I had for this video. If you found anything of value, feel free to stick around on my channel where I post new videos every Tuesday and Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. And with that, I will see you guys on the next one. Godspeed.